Hey guys, welcome back to some more Fire Emblem Heroes. Today, I'm finally doing my new Barracks Tour. I meant to do this all the way back in January. I wanted to do it on the anniversary of the first one, but it just kept slipping away from me. And now my barracks are completely different. I'll probably cut in some clips from that old Barracks Tour just so you can get an idea of what I was working with back then. A lot has changed. Units that were on their way out back then are long gone now. There are some brand new plus 10s in here, some brand new plus 0 units that I use more than my plus 10s. There's a lot to discuss. But real quick, if you enjoy this kind of content, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We'll be doing a big summoning session for Summer Micaiah pretty soon here, so there you go. Alright, the first thing I want to talk about is actually just the way I've organized my barracks, because at this point, we're 5 years in, there's so many effing characters in this game. I think it's actually pretty important to discuss how you organize your units at this point, because I don't know about you guys, I'm kind of obsessive about keeping things kind of neat and orderly, but also keep it functional. So basically what I did was, at some point I decided that a lot of my 5-star units that were sorted at the top were just not that useful anymore. So I actually started utilizing this favorites system. So all of the 5-star units that I don't really use anymore are now on standby. They're still in the barracks, they're not in the groups or anything. I have not banished them to the Shadow Realm, but there you go, they're all here. And this is pretty nostalgic looking back here. I spotted Spring Lucina before. You can see I actually bothered. I was thinking of bothered and also foddered. I bothered to fodder Blarblade Plus on her in the first year of the game. That was a huge deal. We barely ever got 20,000 feathers back then. Let's see, I can probably pick out a couple other noteworthy ones here. Lynn, I remember using Lynn all the way back then. She was actually my very first 5-star unit. That was before I had the foresight that I should probably re-roll my account. I didn't even know that I was supposed to do that back then. So yeah, pretty nostalgic looking back here. At this point, though, the standby category is a whole lot of resplendent heroes that we get that I don't feel like training. There's plenty down here. Yeah, like Jafar. Nope, that's not Jafar. Takumi, there we go. There's a bunch down here, trust me. Because the resplendent heroes, a lot of them are not that good. Especially if you don't refine their weapons, which I don't usually feel like doing. There are some exceptions, but yeah, there's also some units down here that I'd like to build eventually, but I don't want to dwell on the standby units for too long. Oh, Corrin's down here. I used him for a little while in Ether raids. He fell off pretty quick as far as support units go. And standing in contrast to the standby units are the prime units. So basically all the units that are usable in some way, all of the modern units, all the units that have good refines, they are up here. These are the elites. And even now there are some units that I can probably filter out. But yeah, the idea is when I'm doing arena assault, I want to be able to just look through like the first third of my barracks and have it be mostly usable units. There are still some guys in here that need new skills, like Orochi, Basilio. There's a couple units I need to build. We'll talk more about those units later, but yeah. So that's how I kind of organize my barracks. There's like a couple of other categories I have here. I have counters for like dedicated arena assault counters. So let's pick out an example here. Yeah, so like Tanith is just for strong sword units. I can throw Tanith at them, theoretically. Summer Tiki used to see a lot more use because she was a reliable counter against lance armors. Of course, these days you're less likely to actually run into armor units in arena assault. You're more likely to run into like duo units and legendary heroes. And yeah, for that reason, I actually don't end up using these units very often at all. Like Grima, who used to be a pretty good and reliable counter for legendary Crom, I think he still reliably wins the matchup. It's just, I'm not going to keep Grima anywhere near my team if Duo Crom is there as well, you know what I mean? So a lot of these counter units unfortunately just don't get used at all anymore. Which is kind of a shame because I do like some of these units. Like Sue, I gave her Refine. Yeah, so that's kind of the counters situation. There's some other units down here I can build, but I don't have the Divine Dew right now. And then these last two categories, fodder and pending. Fodder kind of speaks for itself. These are units that, like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to use for skill fodder, so I don't keep them with the prime units. And that's basically all there is to it. Units that are perfectly usable, I'm just putting them aside because I'm pretty sure I want to use them for skill fodder. And then the green hearts, these are guys I want to build, some more than others. Like Har, I know for sure I want to build. A couple of these other ones are less certain. Like Ephraim I might do after he gets his Resplendent. One last thing about organization that I think is worth noting is that you might have noticed I actually don't sort my units by merge anymore. So it used to be that all my plus 10s went to the top, because those are my strongest units, but at this point, my plus 10s are not necessarily my strongest units anymore. They're actually about on par with modern +0 units. That's the way it goes, unfortunately, in FEH. So I actually find it more useful to just have them organized like this. It takes a little longer to scroll down to my Micaiahs and colorless, but it works well enough. Okay, so I went ahead and changed it so now you can see all my plus 10s at the top, and we'll just go through all these units just like I did last time. It was a year and a half ago that I last commented on these units, so let's see what's changed. Eirika is now a bottom tier unit according to Game Press. Their most recent Ether Raids tier list literally has her at the very bottom, which is understandable. You know, I'm not happy about it, but it is what it is. I still use her. She's literally still one of my main Ashnard teams because I just pair her up with Caeda and Ashera, and it's still maybe like once every 2 weeks, once a week, I can usually throw Eirika at a team, and she does okay. She can take Odor, especially if he gets false started first. She's fine. I do have her Resplendent stats on. Also, I still have her with HP boon, which is pretty funny. Laslow is still here. Laslow, kind of similar to Eirika. He's fallen off a little bit. He's a unit where I think he's always been a little overrated. I think people saw the conditional brave effect on his weapon and thought that he was really strong, and he can be. I used to do clears with him pretty frequently, but now there's just too many units that he can't kill. You have to stack up so much attack to be able to kill some of these modern Ether Raids defense units. Even like Dual Lith is kind of hard to kill sometimes. You have to make sure you support Laslow with like special acceleration. He needs to be able to activate his Ruptured Skies, so you need Thor or something. I'm sure you can still make him work, but it's usually just not worth it from my experience. Unless it's absolutely necessary. Black Knight is a brand new plus 10 in here, because he got his Refine, and we got save skills since last time. When I did the last Barracks Tour video, save skills didn't exist yet. So this near save Black Knight, admittedly, I have not used him that much. Back then, there was this idea that you could pair up Black Knight with Blue Micaiah, and then they could do pretty well in Ether Raid's offense. I just found it didn't work that well because the modern units that Black Knight runs into, like Legendary Sigurd and especially Note, they just run over him. Note is actually a really annoying unit to run into in Ether Raid's defense, for me at least. I'm sure I can make him better with like Savvy Fighter or whatever else. Wings of Mercy is not his typical B-slot skill. I actually forget what else I have on him. Never mind, Wings of Mercy is his typical B-slot skill. No wonder I never got that much use out of him. So Black Knight still has some untapped potential, I suppose. The idea was that I would get Micaiah in there, she would get some kills, and then if there's just melee threats left, then Black Knight can Wings of Mercy in, and then Micaiah will be okay. That was the idea. Caeda is still here. I believe she might be unchanged. I have given her some new skills over time. She actually has Fury 4, Papega Flight, Attack Speed Rain. She was in my Arena Core until August of last year. And she did perfectly fine up to that point. So not really much to comment on there. I do like her Resplendent a lot though. Ashnard is another brand new plus 10 unit. I believe he's a Forma, right? Yep. So this was the skill set I got on him. He must have had a different B. Yeah, I got Near Trace on him for that Forma effect, or Forma skill. In Ether Raids, I use him in Light Season, paired up with Fjorm, and he does fine. I think he used to do better. It's just, once again, these modern Ether Raids defense threats are so strong, and Ashnard does not like fighting Note either. So, there you go. That's kind of Ashnard's plight. I'm glad I was able to find a use for him, because honestly, I think Ashnard is just a really cool unit. I think this was a cool GHB to get for that Fallen Heroes banner. Kyza is brand new. I actually built them in the last month or so. So the idea behind this build is basically just they can tank Duocrom. That's the idea, with a distant foil. So hopefully they can survive the hit, and then they retaliate with a bonfire. Because with Quick Impulse, their bonfire becomes 2, and then with their perf, they get special acceleration per foe's attack. When I ran the duel simulator, they won the matchup pretty frequently. I've yet to try Kyza in practice, though. I think I've had him enemy phase Legendary Sigurd 1 or 2 times in Arena Assault, so there you go. Adult Tiki has been left behind. I used to run her with Lightning Breath and Steady Breath, and she's just not been used at all. I would say maybe for like an Abyssal clear here or there. Yeah, she really needs... What she really needs is a new weapon to use, but she also needs a Resplendent for those extra stats. I think that would help a little bit. I'm sure people are doing cool things with Adult Tiki, but I don't think I have the skills for it right now. Maybe she'd want like Attack Smoke 4. I actually have no idea. Sophia is a new +10 from last time, and Sophia is an inexplicably useful unit. That's how I would describe her. She can tank threats like Ninja Corrin and Legendary Leaf consistently without a problem. I always look at her defense stats like, okay, but she only actually has like 37 res. Like even with Triangle Adept on her weapon, like even with that, surely she doesn't actually win this matchup. But without fail, every time she wins the matchup against Ninja Corrin. So she's actually a very helpful Arena Assault counter. Also, I like her Resplendent art, so that was a good investment as far as I'm concerned. I could probably give her Mirror Stance 3. I could probably afford to do that at this point. Valentine's Titania has not been used at all. I'd like to give her some new skills, like maybe SR, Far Trace. I do have the fodder for that. I think right now this build is actually specialized for Pawns of Loki. She's actually kind of okay in Pawns of Loki because you figure she has her extra stats from Loyal Reef. She also has Sabotage Attack, so she can, you know, debuff all of her foes that way. I used to use her in Ether Raids, but not anymore. I'm noticing that a lot of my Grail units are red. There's 4 right up here. Titania, Kyza, Ashnard, and Black Knight are all up here. Oboro has also not seen any use. She was actually in my Allegiance Battles team for a while, just because I hadn't built Hana yet, and that was basically the last that I used her for. I explained her build back a year and a half ago, so I don't feel the need to go into it now. I've actually seen some really cool Oboro builds where they do like distance stance, and they might do like a shield pulse build. I've seen people do nutty things with Oboro. I wouldn't mind trying it myself, but I'd have to go check and see what those builds are actually like. Oscar has a couple new skills. He has Swift Sparrow 3, and that might actually be it. Oscar's primary use is for Resonant Battles. Did Resonant Battles exist back then? Yeah, it did. Okay. A year and a half ago, we did have Resonant Battles. Yeah, Oscar's main use is for Resonant Battles, where he just lunges forward and kills ninjas. He doesn't see much use otherwise. I don't even use him in Arena Assault. Petrine is a brand new +10. So she's got that Lysithea fodder, Death Blow 4, and Lull Speed Res. I've used her a couple times to take out Fallen Edelgard in Arena Assault. But honestly, I haven't used her too much, which is too bad, because she is a pretty cool unit. As a rule, I mostly just invest my Grails into Tellius units because I like them the most. That's basically it. You can see 5 out of 5 so far have been Tellius units. Cordelia, I decided to max merge her just for the sake of it. I had the feathers for it. Mostly I just use her as like a dedicated sword counter in Arena Assault. She usually has Sword Breaker. You can see this build is kind of overkill for that because she has a Triangle Adept. But yeah, that's basically it for Cordelia. I think I may have actually used her for a couple Abyssal Clears just because, you know, with Gale Force and her quadding, she can do pretty well in those circumstances. Subaki has fallen off a cliff. I've let go of Subaki. Like, theoretically, I'm sure I could get him some new skills. Maybe like Spring Maria's B slot skill. I forget what it's called, but theoretically, I'm sure I could make him usable again. It's just too much. The arena or the Ether Raid's defense threats at this point, I have no faith that he can fight them, even though his perf was like pretty good back then. Mordecai I built in the last week or so because we just got his new refine. Sabertooth Fang inflicts debuffs and Pulse Smoke when you use Smite. From my experience, the range of only 2 spaces is just really limiting. It's kind of hard to use it in practice, but we'll have to wait and see. I only just built him, so yeah. I also gave him Distant Foil so he can theoretically counter Duocrom. Naesala is another brand new +10. So this is a Forma. I lucked out big time with this build. He has SD near trace, it's just not equipped right now. He has attack speed menace. His build is just really good, and they gave him such a good refine too. Naesala is a really strong player phase unit at this point. I gave him trait fruits for speed. Yeah, I don't know why they've been going so hard with the GHB refines. All of them have been really good recently. Like, even like Jomki and Garen got pretty good refines. Pan as well. I was wanting to build more GHBs, it's just, I literally ran out of arena medals. I think earlier I said I ran out of Divine Dew? No, I ran out of arena medals, which is, it's never happened to me before. Let me know what your bottleneck is. Is it arena medals or is it Divine Dew? I think for most people it's Divine Dew, but for me it's definitely arena medals right now. Next is Fallen Delthea. I think I had her at low merge before, but now she's max merged. I think we had her Forma since last time, though I don't remember for sure. Her build kind of speaks for itself. I'm really just waiting to see what her refine looks like. I think her refine is like 4 or 5 months out, so we'll have to wait and see. She hasn't seen much use. Tailtiu has some new skills. Fury 4 is new, and Time's Pulse is new. And I've actually been able to use her a little bit too, so that's been fun. I've always been a fan of Tailtiu. Her Resplendent is good too, so pretty happy with how Tailtiu has turned out. I think Ilyana is new, I'm actually not sure. She has a close ward build, she can kill dragons, and that's literally it. And she's pretty consistent in being able to do that, so there you go. There's not much else to say there. I do like this build, I think it's pretty unique. She could probably use like Joint Drive Res or whatever, but I think she's fine for now. And now, finally, we have our first Micaiah, our first fully merged Micaiah. Ever since the last Barracks Tour, I have +10'd, I think 3 different Micaiahs, with this being one of them. Unfortunately, I never got around to giving her actually good skills. Tragically, I would still like to do it, but yeah, we were fortunate enough to get her Resplendent, so I used that opportunity to max merge her. I think she had like a revival banner that same week. So yeah, I used that opportunity to get her to max merge finally. I used her a little bit for as like a Nullsea Disrupt tank, but she is not currently in any of my Ether Raids teams. I don't have faith that she can tank stuff like Ninja Korin or most other like ranged threats in Ether Raids like Sonya. I just don't have faith that she can counter those enemies. I think base Micaiah, I think she was overrated, and now people have caught on to the fact that she's actually not that strong as a ranged tank. One of the most important +10 units that I have built is Hana. So basically I really needed a new arena core unit to fight stuff like Brave Hector and Legendary Dimitri, and Legendary Claude had just come out at that time. I really needed a way to kill those units because my arena core of Micaiahs and maybe Oboro was not doing the trick. So Hana came in and she kind of saved the day. I gave her low attack speed specifically because it helped her in those like high speed matchups like Dimitri and Claude. That's why I didn't go for Spurn. She could probably use like distant pressure or something, or distant stance, but she's fine for now. I actually don't really use her as a combat unit anymore. In fact, I actually don't have room for her in my arena core anymore as of last August. So now I actually only really use her in the first round of arena assault, and then also in allegiance battles. Whenever I have that 4th slot open, I usually use Hana. I don't regret this investment at all though. Hana was very useful for that time, and she still is. Titania, not even worth talking about. I talked about her build last time, and I haven't used her at all, unfortunately, since last time, so we're gonna gloss over that. I'd love for her to get a Resplendent, maybe then I'll use it as an excuse to give her more skills, but yeah. Cherche continues to be a timeless classic, just consistently very useful for abyssal clears and stuff like that. I don't really use her in the competitive modes at all, like not like Ether Raids or anything like that. She's just very useful for abyssal clears. My first +10 unit ever, actually, so there you go. She could really use attack defense rain, I just don't have the fodder for it. Soren, just like Titania, he fell off a cliff. He has not been used at all, tragically. His perf is garbage. Really just nothing going for Soren. We need like an inheritable green tome that is actually accessible, because right now Grand Vulture is not easily accessible, even though it is in the game. Brave Micaiah is unchanged, except I did get G dual flying 4 for her, because she's actually still part of my arena core, so I had to give her some new skills to keep up. I think joint drive speed might be new, I don't remember. But yeah, also her refine is new. She's actually a pretty consistent counter for stuff like Brave Hector now, so that worked out pretty well. Usually I keep ground orders on her because it's good for supporting whoever the arena bonus is that week. Tethys, I believe, is unchanged since last time. I think I have taken her off my arena, or I've taken her off my Ether Raids defense teams at this point, so she doesn't really see use there, but yeah, she's still here. I still like her. Sothe is kind of a tragic one because he got a pretty good refine. I just have not been bothered to actually give him new skills or use him for anything in particular. He's just kind of been here. I would love to find a better use for him, maybe as like an Ether Raids initiator. It's just so hard to find a use for a dagger unit that isn't Yuri, you know? So alright, I'm back for part 2 of this recording. I started getting tired during the last recording, so anyway, Felicia is up next. She's actually an arena bonus right now, so that might actually give me a reason to give her some skills. She was among the first units to get a perf refine, and her refine is actually fairly decent with the adaptive damage. It's just, her attack is so low, it's really hard to justify using her for anything in particular these days. Oh yeah, so the reason I +10'd her, I just felt like it. I had no other reason besides that. I think she was actually one of the first +10s I did after the last video. Yeah, her skill set is just classic 2018 Fury Desperation. Yeah. I've always thought her art is pretty good, but even still, I think she could use the Resplendent for the stats. Kagero was an arena bonus a little while ago. That was actually why I built her, along with her having a fairly decent perf and Resplendent stats. Never mind her actual Resplendent outfit. I foddered in a green to her because I had an extra, and she's actually pretty good. I wanted to buff her physical attack, or her visible attack, because that's how her weapon does the attack check. And yeah, she's actually pretty good. It was fun using her in arena that one week, and I've actually used her in arena assault a couple times since then, so pretty happy. Summer Mia is still here. I think maybe the only change is that I gave her ARD 4 from Niffle, and she is still on my Ether Raids defense only for Anima now. I took her off of Dark. Maybe I'll show what my Ether Raids defense team looks like right now. I kind of do slight variations of it depending on like whether or not it's wind season or water season or whatever. I also gave her, just today actually, I gave her an ascended stat in speed. She has a super boon, so it felt worthwhile. Also, I noticed in the most recent Game Press tier list, they have Summer Mia in tier 3. I was surprised by that, just because, I don't know, I felt like she was really good before. I guess the perception is that she fell off. I still like using Summer Mia a lot in Ether 8's defense. I think her matchup against Fjorm is still really good. I think even right now, I have a rematch, or a replay, where someone tried to tank Mia with Fjorm, and it didn't work. Because with Mia's damage reduction, she just doesn't really care about Ice Mirror. I guess what she really needs, if I were to try and improve her, I would try to give her some way to either avoid enemy follow-ups or to give her guard, because that's how she usually dies. If anything does kill her, it's from like far save Henriette or far save Vector with quick riposte, or not literally quick riposte, but you know what I mean. Summer Mia is also the reason why I can occasionally get tier 21 in Resonant Battles, so happy about her being here. Legendary Micaiah is a pretty big deal for my account, because before her I never had a merged legendary hero, so finally I can pretty reliably get into tier 21 in Arena, and just score high in the other Arena modes as well. Yes, obviously I looked forward to Legendary Micaiah for a long time. I knew we'd get her eventually. I saved orbs for a long time, and being able to plus 10 her when she launched was very satisfying. One of the highlights of my Fae career, I guess. I gave her a bunch of different A-slot skills. Right now she has bonus doubler on, which is pretty funny, but she's got Fury 4, obviously. She's got HP Res 2 for Pawns of Loki. Mirror Stance 3, Close Foil, Attack Defense Unity, just a bunch of different A-slot skills that I'm trying on her. She has Times Pulse as well. Obviously, I'm going to give all my best skills to Micaiah. I went with the Defense Ascended boon, because I just felt that was the stat where I was left wanting the most. As far as her res goes, like, she needs a lot of res, but in the matchups against mages where she loses, I just find that the little bit of extra res doesn't really make a difference, because if she's losing those matchups, it's because it's like a Winter Lysithea who's initiating on her, and the little bit of extra res is a lot less reliable than just equipping Deflect Magic. Speed as well, like, I don't think she needs that much speed to be able to do what she needs to do, so I've actually felt pretty good about the Defense Ascended boon this whole time. I think it might be interesting to do a more comprehensive review of Legendary Micaiah in a month once she's a year old, but I don't know, I did talk about her quite a bit just now, so maybe that would be redundant. But yeah, very big deal for my account to finally have a plus 10 legendary unit. On that same banner, they ran Ashera. Yeah, so I lucked out big time with that, because Ashera was a unit I was going to want to merge anyway, just because Radiant Dawn is my favorite game, and Ashera is pretty cool. As far as actually using her, for me it's just most important to have a fully merged Astra Mythic. Her capabilities beyond that are less important, but it does help that she is actually a pretty good combat unit, and even a pretty good support unit. She can grant Null Panic, which has single-handedly kept Eirika and Laslow relevant in my Ether Rates teams. If it weren't for Ashera, I would have dropped those two a long time ago, for sure. And yeah, with Wings of Mercy and her perf, which gives her a bunch of attack, she's pretty reliable in just kind of cleaning up kills when it's necessary. She can get a ton of attack, so she's been pretty helpful. Duo Micaiah was another big deal for my account, because I was finding I needed a new arena unit that scored high and that was also just strong. Basically, my arena core all the way back then, before I had Micaiah, a Duo Micaiah merged, it was like, I think I was still using Oboro and Caeda back then, and just, I really needed to be able to inflict dominance on things. That made a huge difference, especially for helping out bonus units get kills. Yeah, I think when I did the last Barracks Tour, she was +4. On her rerun, I got her to +10, finally. This was the second Micaiah that I +10'd in the last year and a half, and then Legendary was the third. Yeah, Duo Micaiah, obviously still part of my arena core. very useful. I gave her attack res menace. I gave her a res ascended trait just recently. Very happy with her. My very last +10 unit is Rhys. I think the only change on Rhys is that I gave him ARD 4 from Moosebell, so I forwarded 1 Moosebell and 1 Niffle to Rhys and Mia respectively. Rhys is still in my Anima defense. He's still awkwardly sharing with Winter Sephiran. If I really wanted to be optimal, I'd probably just get rid of Sephiran and give Rhys the recovery skill that I need. I'll probably still do that, but I don't know, I'm very lazy. Rhys is still fun to have in arena defense, or Ether Raid's defense. He still gets unexpected kills sometimes. I run him with Dagger Breaker because of air, and also because of Ninja Lin. And that's it for all of my +10s. I counted, and I think I have 34 right now. When I did the last Barracks Tour video a year and a half ago, I had 15, so this was a big time for my barracks. Now, I think I'll go through some of the other units that basically I'm in the middle of building, and then we'll go through some of the lower merge units that I use pretty frequently. So on the to build list versus Peleus, he's actually basically done. He just needs 2 more merges. Raw Vulture is just the best inheritable red tome available right now, so that's what I'm gonna roll with. Really too bad they didn't give him a perf. I'm kind of annoyed by that, but hopefully I can find some use for him. And then I just have a line of flyers here that are all high merged, and I just don't have builds ready for them yet. Said if I can actually finish merging already, but I haven't decided on a build yet. Orochi, I need more copies. Basilio, I have enough copies, I just need to decide on a build. Summer Micaiah, soon we'll be summoning for her. And that might actually be it for the units that... Oh no, there's one more. Summer Alencia. I've already started giving her dumb skills. Look, she has Deadeye, she has Fishy Bow. This is Summer Takami's bow. It's the one that has Desperation. Obviously not optimal, but I'm impatient and I want to give her good skills in the meantime. Eventually she'll be in the Grail Shop and I can finish merging her. Okay, I think that might actually be it. One thing I forgot to mention with my +10s is that even now, I don't have a single +10 archer. I have 4 +10 dagger units, but no archers, so Alencia will be my first one, it looks like. Anyway, I went ahead and resorted my units, so now it's not the +10s at the top, and I just wanted to go through real quick and pick out some of the low merge units that I use a lot. Brave Marth, I literally need him for limited hero battles. My Shadow Dragon lineup is really weak. It's like Marth and Caeda and Wolf and Navarre, and that's basically it. Those are the only really strong Shadow Dragon units that I have. I don't even think I have a Dancer for Shadow Dragon. I think the only one is Fina. So yeah, otherwise I would love to fodder him for even Tempest or Distant Pressure, but I literally cannot. Winter Altina is still one of my Ether Raid's offense teams for light. I just stack up that team with a bunch of duos and harmonics, so that way, if anybody is not running duos hindrance, I can just pull out the Altina team and usually just sweep it with a combination of Altina's Vantage, and then sometimes I'll do duo Micaiah's Dominance. Summer Edelgard is brand new. Speaking of Altina, she's actually a bonus right now, so she's on all of my Ether Raid's offense teams. I'm looking forward to trying to utilize her after bonus season. I think she'll be pretty good. I gave her Gale Force, so here's hoping I figure out a good way to use her. Pirate Naesala, just like the other Naesala, just very strong player phase unit. I use him for a lot of PvE content. I had to keep one Moosebell around for Pontiff Loki, and that's the only reason why I make it a point to keep one around, because I don't always have a lot of good red dragons in my friends list. A lot of times it's just like 1 +10 Sothis and that's it, and I have to make up the rest myself. So Moosebell supportive capabilities aren't even that important. I just need to have an extra like cavalry red dragon I can resort to. Veld? I'm not sure Veld even existed back then when I did the first Barracks Tour, But yeah, Veld is just really helpful for arena assault, and even for like summoner duels. I mentioned earlier that Navarre was one of the only units I have for Shadow Dragon, and so here he is. I gave him Gale Force. One of my only lifelines for Shadow Dragon. Brave Hector, probably the unit I use the most in in Ether raids. I keep him on Astra, and yeah, just I don't feel like thinking that hard in Ether raids, so more than half the time I'll just throw Vector at it and hope for the best. And usually it works because I haven't dropped out of Vault of Heaven in a while, so the Vector brainless strategy has been working. I think Vector... Yeah, I had him during the last Barracks Tour too, so literally over the past year and a half, nothing has changed with Vector. He's still a really overpowered unit. I could probably give him a new B-slot skill, since with Special Fighter I don't really need it anymore. I have Caeda and Thor that grant these same buffs, so Hector would probably want Slick Fighter the most, honestly. Brave Hollywood got a really cool refine, and I just like using him. I have him on an Ether Raids offense team with Vector. Really good for making sure I can kill Fallen Edelgard. That's basically it for him. Oh, I actually keep him paired up with Legendary Micaiah for AB clears. Raphael got to +6 merge while I was summoning for Duo Micaiah. He's just a really strong dancer. That's basically all there is to it. I give him Infantry Pulse. I've experimented with him a little bit in summoner duels just to see, you know, what all I can get out of him. Ishtar is low merge, but with her Perf Refine being really good and her Resplendent stats, she's just really handy to have around. She can run Windsweep and no follow-up. No problem. So very good for arena assault. New Year's Reagan. One of my best decisions was sparking for New Year's Reagan. I think I've gotten infinitely more use out of New Year's Reagan than I have New Year's Dagger. I don't even use New Year's Dagger. Reagan, though, she's really great. I use her in summoner duels mostly. So, like, she can warp in, and even if she warps, she still gets Canto 2. She has pre-charge, Scepter Shell. Just a very strong unit. I've tried a couple different B slots on her. She doesn't actually come with one. I did Chill Res for a while. I'm doing Dual Ranged for now. I find her B slot doesn't matter as much, so yeah. But I wanted to make sure I highlighted New Year's Reagan because she's been really good. Ascended Fjorm speaks for herself. I actually forgot that she had a speed Bane. Why does she have that actually? Oh, maybe I got her with the HP boon. Is that a boon? I can't tell. It must be HP, right? HP and attack? Yeah. Asset. Oh, and then attack is an ascended asset. Okay, I got it. Anyway, here are my ascended units. You can see it's 1, 2, 3 Micaiahs and 1 Mia. Picnic Felicia. I've actually used her a little bit in Ether Raids already, and I'd like to use her a little more. She's +2 right now. And yeah, her perf and the fact that I gave her near save, I think she has a lot of potential. I just need to find a better way to actually utilize her. I'm going to highlight Ranulf for the opposite reason, because I have found almost no use for him, as is evidenced by him having 4 hero merit. Ranulf was kind of a meme for a long time because he was the last Tellius unit I needed for my collection. I finally got him, and now I don't use him. But hey, he has a new refine, so maybe I'll find a use for him in Arena Assault. I'm pretty sure I highlighted Caden last time, and I'm going to do it again because he is just a ridiculously good support unit. They gave him Drive Guard in his perf, which is honestly really good. I wouldn't have expected them to give him such a good support effect, but they did do it. So yeah, Caden is going to probably continue to be a staple in my Arena Assault. God, Ether Raids teams. Pirate Hinoka is fun for Arena Assault. I forgot about her attack Bane, though. Fallen Edelgard is... so I use Vector in Astra Season when I don't feel like thinking, and that's what Fallen Edelgard is for Light Season. I just throw Fallen Edelgard at my problems, and she kills everything. I know people like running her with Gale Force, but I've always preferred to run her with Bonfire, because she can just enemy phase things and retaliate with a Bonfire each time. My FE 4 and 5 lineup is really weak, so I have to keep Harmonized Leaf. Harmonized Leaf was my free, like, special summon. You know how every year they give us, like, the free special hero, where it's like you just get a free 5-star seasonal from that year. Well, Leaf was the one that I got from last year, and yeah, I have to keep him. I can't fodder him, even though I want to. I think that's basically it. There are some other units down here that I can maybe highlight. It's just that they kind of speak for themselves, you know? Like, I use Flame the same way everybody else does. Yuri as well. Jenny. Yeah, I don't feel the need to elaborate on any more of these guys. I was thinking maybe I would go show my Ether Rage teams, but I think over the course of the video I ended up showing most of them, so we'll skip that. Instead, I'll just go straight to my catalog of heroes and flex that I still have. Hold on. I still have every Talia's unit. They're all here. So there you go. Including 6 Micaiahs. Oh yeah, here are my, let's see if I can show my current summoner supports. As to be expected. I don't even use this Micaiah, so I could probably afford to replace her, but it's really the principle. I think that'll be it for the video. Thank you for watching this whole thing. I'm sure it ended up being longer than I wanted it to be. The very last thing I wanted to mention was just that, keep in mind, I am not a free-to-play player. I have FEH Pass, you could tell from all my resplendence. I also buy the support packs occasionally, so definitely keep that in mind if you're like comparing my barracks to yours. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll catch you guys next time.